Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
Are you ready?
POWERRR. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party.
It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys live stream podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal. This gentleman right here is DKM. Wait, is it this way? The camera reflects it, mirrors it. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
you were pointed the right way.
Well, see, you're looking at the same screen I'm looking at, but they're looking at a different screen. Anyway, this is the Alliance Guys podcast or live stream. We have to kind of change the name here because the nature of the game has changed, DK. This isn't really a podcast at this point. This is a live stream. We're live streaming right now. We're not podcasting.
Well, details.
But anyways, we're here. Well, we're here, but we're not really here. DKM is in his palatial state amongst the top of the top in the Fort Worth area. Your boy J. Cal is in Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada. The dog is barking because he wants to come in. Guys, where are you at? Check in, sign off. What's going on? I love that dog. That's my new best friend. What's his name?
That was Haas.
That was Haas?
And if you'd see him, you knew that he fits the name.
He's a Haas.
It sounds like there's a gerbil in a cage somewhere.
Don't look at me. I have no gerbils. I have no cages.
Do you have a rat running into a wheel?
Maybe I have a rat in a cage. Last night, guys, I was in Irvine at the 5 Points Amphitheater. Like, your boy Jake Cal's kind of a globetrotter here. I mean, just last night I was in Irvine. Tonight I'm in Las Vegas. Who knows where I'll be tomorrow? Probably nowhere special. But I saw the Smashing Pumpkins. I bought my tickets because I thought, we might have some NWA wrestling. We didn't. But I got to see a great performance by the Smashing Pumpkins. And this might get me demonetized here, but hell, what the hell? That was technically Stone Temple Pilots, so I don't know if that counts. But yeah, I mean, it was a really good show. Let me see if I can throw a photo up here. But yeah, it was fun. And Mandy likes STP. They have a new lead singer, obviously, for obvious reasons. But yeah, you don't. Oh, I'm sorry, Roswell. I didn't mean to throw that back at you, brother. I don't have to hear that every day, so that's one of my favorites. But let me see. Let me throw this picture up. If it pops up.
Well, that didn't work.
Well, I'm working on it. Maybe it won't work. I'm not. I'm doing this on the fly, so I'm kind of. Oh nope, that's not it. Never mind. You know what? This isn't working. Mandy, yes. Okay, I'm not going to take this podcast too far that direction, but huge Stone Temple Pilots fan, huge Scott Weiland fan. Got to see Stone Temple Pilots back in like 2003, 2002. Got to see Velvet Revolver back in like 2005. No, you know what? 2007, I think, is when I saw Velvet Revolver. Both bands were awesome because of Weiland. Obviously, a tortured soul, poor dude. But yeah, great singer. Their replacement's pretty good too. If you guys have an opportunity to check out Stone Temple Pilots, do it. Stone Temple Pilots with Jeff. It's not really Stone Temple Pilots. It's Stone Temple Pilots with Jeff. And then also, I'll say it, you guys. I might not like his booking decisions. I might not like his creativity in the wrestling ring, but that Billy Corgan could shred on the guitar. Absolutely incredible. I knew he could play the guitar, right, DK? I knew he could play the guitar, but that dude was shredding. Like, wow. I was totally impressed. And Luther, as you said, Mad Season is life. I'm with you right there. That's another one of my favorite bands is Mad Season. Lane Staley was amazing. But that's enough music talk. DK, who's your favorite band?
I don't have a favorite band. I just listen to types of music. I just listen to songs I like.
Okay, what's a song that you like?
Well, I like most songs by the Beatles.
Okay.
I like a lot of Prince.
Oh yeah, I knew that.
I'm into outlaw country, so Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash.
I'm Johnny Cash.
And I actually like Cage the Elephant for some weird reason.
I saw those guys live a few years ago. They're pretty good too.
And when you're as old as I am, if I can do my own Jaden joke on my age, when you're as old as I am, bands that you still think of as being new are like now in the classics area.
Yeah.
And my biggest joke I remember is because I always remember when Randy Travis came into country music because he was supposed to be a throwback to old style country. And so it's like, the guy's had a full career and embarrassed himself and gone on to hopefully recovery. But in my mind, he's still like a new guy because I remember all the old ones. And so I don't really know much modern music, current music, in that I may know a song here and there, but I couldn't tell you who plays it. But I did listen to some Pearl Jam. I did listen to some Nirvana in the grunge days.
Hey, Mandy's on board with your music. I can put comments up here. I can still do that. I can do that. No, I don't want to put Mandy in timeout. What's going on? Maybe I can't.
So anyway, yeah, just I'm very eclectic. I liked early Madonna before she went totally insane. Oddly, I was never a Michael Jackson fan. I recognize that people loved him and why people loved him or whatever. I never really cared for his music. It's one of my oddities. But Yeah, I was never a big Michael Jackson fan. Michael Jackson, Madonna, and Prince were the last of the great superstars.
Do you remember what the first record you either purchased or someone purchased for you?
The first album that I purchased for myself was actually a Kiss album.
Oh, which one?
Kiss, Detroit
Oh,
Rock
okay.
City. I don't know if that was the name of the album, but it's whatever album had that song. And that's the first one I purchased. Now my brother purchased all sorts of music. So I remember my sister listening to Black Oak, Arkansas over and over and over again, to the point where I learned the lyrics to Jim Dandy to the Rescue.
Go Jim Dandy! Go Jim Dandy!
Exactly. So, yeah, it's it's interesting. And what's funny, since I'll do this last little bit of music, there are songs from the 80s that maybe I didn't necessarily like, but I do hold a memory with. And so when it comes on, it's like I'll listen to the song all the way through, not necessarily because I like the song, but because there's a memory of a girl or a vacation or something,
It's always a girl, isn't it?
Not always, but there are a few that relate to the girl.
The first album that I ever owned. So I have a half brother and a half sister, both of them much older than me. Even I think they're even older than you, DK, and that's saying something, right? And my older brother bought me a Van Halen, was it an SP when there's only like 2 or 3 songs on there? Is that an LP? Not an LP, the EP.
EP.
So it was an EP for Van Halen.
Extended play, by the way. That's what that is.
And it had the Hot for Teacher song on it. And I don't remember what was on the other one because I just liked that song. And it wasn't like I had a hot teacher. I was only like in the kindergarten. My teacher looked like a grandma. So it wasn't, but I just loved how amazing they sounded. And I had like a little Michael Jackson record player. It's purple and white with Michael Jackson's face on the roof of it. And I played the shit out of that record. And that was really the only record I had until maybe like 3 or 4 years ago when I started buying my own records. Everything else was like a tape or CD for me. And who says the Columbia House, man, those dudes still are owed money from me, and they'll never get it, not 1 penny.
Man, that's something I haven't thought about in years.
That was the craziest thing because you know what? I was like 13 and I signed up for that. And they were sending me CDs in the mail and they're like, that's a $20 CD. Send a check. I'm like, I ain't got a check. That was such a scam. Like honestly, I could have bought 100 CDs and then just never did anything with them, because like you can't enter into a contract with a 13-year-old. And I remember the brand, like Foo Fighters had just come out and they sent the CD to my house and I was so excited to listen to it. And my mom put the package on my bed. My dog jumped up on the bed, found the package, chewed the shit out of it, just destroyed it. And I had a water bed when I was young and it popped little holes. Not a good sign. I thought I was wetting the bed at 14 years of age, it was the water bed had holes in it.
So your story is.
And I'm sticking to it, brother. Willie said the first album he owned was the Bee Gees.
Funny story about the Bee Gees. When people went on the disco hate craze, they couldn't produce a song that would reach the charts for, if you put a gun to people's heads. But they were writing and producing songs that were making it all the way up to number 1. I'm sure. People didn't realize it was, from one of the Bee Gees or whatever.
There's a country music band called Old Dominion And actually, I'm not a huge country music fan, but they're one of the bands I do like. And it turns out like they've written songs for everybody else. Have made like a ton of money writing songs, and their songs, they track, but they're not making the big bucks. Anyways, that's enough music talk for the day. What the subject line, the header of this podcast is live stream is so long, Cyon. And there's a specific reason why we're saying so long to Cyon, because, well, bye, Cyon. He's gone. He ain't here. What's that?
I said apparently he's gone, but do we know Cyon is gone as well?
Well, I mean, sure. I mean, I know who he is. He's the evil twin of Cyon.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm wondering if they're smart and dropping the storyline altogether, or if they're going to keep the other masked idiot around.
I mean, like, it's out there. If people want to know, we could spoil it, but I don't like doing spoilers. I don't like ruining it for some people, because some people enjoy the mystery of it, right? Like, we never mentioned that Robert Anthony was Cyon, and in fact, this is the first time I've said it publicly, right? But I didn't say it before he did. He outed himself on his own podcast, which I know the other guys were talking about that yesterday, and it was pretty interesting. But where I was going with that? You should check it out. I think it's called Potting with Ego or something like that. It's the podcast for Robert Anthony. He has Joe Alonzo on there, his protege Joe Alonzo, and a lot of it's a very interesting take on pro wrestling. He kind of gives you some insight. Obviously, he has his own ideals, his own beliefs, and he'll share those with you without hesitation. But what I liked about kind of coming clean is he was diving into what made him hate this gimmick. And it's interesting, and this is kind of what DK and I wanted to talk about was, the NWA is in this weird, precarious position because it kind of there's a benefit for using talent with names, right? If you put a poster up and it has Chris Adonis on that poster, just from name recognition and the eyeball test, I know who that guy is. He wrestled in the WWE. Or, even conversely, like EC3, he's a guy that's been to the top. He's on television. A guy like Tyrus, even though none of us like him, his face is unmistakable. You know exactly who that dude is. You know where he was. And it's not, you don't have to saddle that person with a mask or anything like that. But a guy like Robert Anthony, who, has an established career on the Indies. Like, don't get me wrong. He's got legitimate name value on the Indies. I remember the name Ego Fantastico for quite some time before seeing Robert Anthony in the NWA. And, Ego Fantastico had a pretty stellar independent wrestling career. It's not over, obviously. But what's that?
And a small following.
Yeah.
And I don't mean small in an insulting way. I mean, for an independent guy, he had a following as, his masked persona.
Paladin, you said kayfabe is dead. Are you accusing us of murdering kayfabe, or are we just reporting on how other people have murdered it already? Because I'm kind of curious. But I think there's a problem though, right? Because if you have a talent who says, "Hey, this is literally killing me to do this. Like, I have no desire to continue with this career." And that's the thing. Go listen to the interview. I'm not trying to put words in Robert Anthony's mouth. He's literally saying that his mental health was suffering from this. And think about it too. Like, I felt like they kind of they sunk that character long before he told him he didn't want to be that character. When we look at Cyon, when he first came to the NWA, when he first made his power debut, DK, tell us what you were saying off the air about Cyon.
Well, he came in, and this is something that you brought up before. He kind of came in as an anti question mark, whereas question mark was goofy and a little silly, and the only thing he ever said was "karate" or whatever. I mean, and they kind of did the same thing then when they started having Josephus wrestle and question mark, and even though everybody knew they were the same, I mean, come on, people. I could see. Oh, and to respond to whoever said that, I guess it was Media Empire. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't know that was Robert Anthony because a lot of people don't know who the hell Robert Anthony is.
The thing to consider is Robert Anthony did have a small following on the internet. Yeah, I mean, the independent scene, especially in Chicago, the Midwest area, Robert Ego Anthony, yes, absolutely. But on a national level, not really. And like a few dark matches in AEW does not make a career,
Right. And, just to the average fan who only watches whatever it is they watch, you would just have to look into it. But, the character was weird from the beginning. He came in masked, and they were basically calling him the Mystery Man or something like that. And it was like, why are you here, Mystery Man? I was brought in by William Patrick Corgan. So I could do what William Patrick Corgan needed to be done. Well, that was more Winston Churchill than Simon.
Anyway. I kind of felt like it was a little bit like, I can't think of his name right now. The old news anchor. Whatever. We'll go.
Yeah. So anyway, so
Walter Cronkite.
Okay, that works. Walter Cronkite. So for a little while, or Nixon, yeah, could have been Nixon. But I think it was.
That worked too.
But yeah, he kind of came in. I'm here for William Patrick Corgan, and only William Patrick Corgan knows why I am here, because that's why I'm here is because of William Patrick Corgan. And so, okay, yeah, that meant a lot to us. So,
and I don't answer to floozy reporters.
Yeah, so
I don't think he called me a floozy, but he should have.
He was dull. He was boring, and absolutely nothing they were doing was going to get him over. So he starts out as a face, and we never ever found out why William Patrick Corgan brought him in. William Patrick Corgan never acknowledged him in any way, shape, or form. So he came in as a face in the first set of tapings. So then the second set of tapings, he was a heel. We don't know why he was a heel, but he was a heel. And he had a new name, Cyon. We don't know why that was his name, but he had a name. So he went from Mystery Man to Cyon. And now he was no longer there for William Patrick Corgan. And then he was there because of his dad. Because his dad was a former world champion. I didn't say what type of world champion. Just a former world champion.
Well, they even like tried to play it off. He's a former NWA champion, but they never said what division, what weight class, what nothing.
Could have been tag team, could have been TV. I mean, who knows what it is. And so, and then the next, so they gave him that national title run, which started out strong with him defending on the Indies. And then, of course, fizzled out by the time he lost it. And he's like the longest reigning national champion they had. And, but.
Sorry, I got to point this out real quick. Mike says, because Willie had mentioned Robert Anthony was trained by former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Harley Race. Then Mike, our pal Mike, demonetized Mike, says he was dull, he was boring. Yup, trained by Harley. Ouch.
I don't think that's 100% fair because Harley was far from dull or boring. But the gimmick he had prior was not dull or boring because I've looked it up.
Ego Fantastico.
Yeah, I mean that was a character. So don't say it was Harley Race that he was dull and boring. He was dull and boring because that's the way he was being booked in the NWA. The NWA has this thing where even if you have a following on the indie scene, if you come in, they kind of like to repackage you. He's very Vince McMahon in that way.
And again, like we, without trying to sound like a dick here, but I'm going to sound like a dick. We've all said that this is WPC playing with his toys, and some of the toys weren't as attractive to him, so he put a mask on them, or he had them dance and do something silly, or have a zipper on their mouth. Whatever it is, he's done something to the toys to make it more fitting to what he wants to produce. But I guess the part where the problem comes in is, do we blame Billy for putting a guy like Robert Anthony under the mask, or do we blame Robert Anthony for taking an assignment that he was never going to be committed to?
Yes. I mean, you start with Billy Corgan, who booked the thing, because he saw something that was.
Yeah.
And I'll give Robert Anthony the leeway that he may not have understood where it was going with Billy Corgan, because I doubt Billy Corgan knew where it was going with Billy Corgan. And
well, the fact that
he had 2 or 3 starts and stops tells me Billy Corgan didn't have a plan for him. And, again, no offense to Dave Marquez. If Billy shows up with a plan, I tend to think it's one he wrote or pulled out of his ass just before he shows up. Because nothing comes across as being planned. And if he's still on his big 20-year plan because 5 or 6 years in, he was supposed to be on TV and we're going to count YouTube as being TV. Or he was supposed to have a show. Maybe it wasn't TV. Okay, sure. He had that 2 years in. And we haven't gone much from there. Jaden's popped up, so let's ask Jaden. Jaden, whose fault is it? The guy that's booking him like crap, or the guy that agreed to do this crap?
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, Hayden Christensen was given the role of Anakin Skywalker. We find out much later that Hayden Christensen's actually a good actor, but what he was given and the direction he was given, he came off very wooden and not very good, and very kind of whiny and annoying as Anakin Skywalker, talking about sand and his delivery and his god-awful pickup lines and all the creepy stuff he was doing.
And he
not just the men
had absolutely no chemistry whatsoever.
And not just the men, but the women and the children.
Yeah, so we later find out that he's actually a good actor, but just nobody knew about that because of the stuff. Just like Natalie Portman, she ended up winning an Oscar. Nobody thought she was a good actress after the Star Wars movies.
No, she was a good actress. When they found out Keira Knightley was her double, we're like, well, they should make Keira Knightley. Her and Keira Knightley should have switched places.
No, she couldn't get jobs after that because they thought the Professional was a fluke. That was her big role before Star Wars. She ended up yeah, it was a really good movie. You should check it out if you haven't seen it yet. She was like 10.
I was a big Natalie Portman fan, so I feel like there was a lot of movies she did like, or was good in. Like there was that movie where she gave birth to a baby in a Walmart. I don't remember what the movie was called, but
I
don't remember it. Yeah, I don't remember the movie, so I have to say. But I remember she couldn't get work in Hollywood for a while because of what Star Wars did. But yeah, she actually is an excellent, and that's what I'm thinking. It doesn't matter if you don't understand, if you don't have the direction, you can be the greatest actor in the entire world. If you don't have the right direction, you can't take that with ever. And if you don't have the power to take it, you want to take it, like Dusty Rhodes kind of did with the polka dots, then you can be the greatest wrestler in the world with the greatest personality, but if you can't showcase it, then I have to say it's definitely the person who's giving you the gimmicks, the director's fault. Went a long way to say Billy Corgan's fault.
Those are some glasses you got there, Mr. DK.
I know. I like them. But for something that's supposed to be Anti-glare, they sure do glare.
Maybe the glare's in your for you, not them.
I guess.
Or the glare to you? Do you see glare?
I don't see much of anything.
When you
That's
have
the
it on, you kind
glaucoma.
of look like a Baxter Stockman style mad scientist.
True story. In Omaha, Nebraska, waiting on my friend who had run into a store real quick. This goth girl and skater boy come by, and my glasses are transitions. So it was sunny out, so they looked like sunglasses. So these two 16, 17-year-old kids or whatever loved them. They're, oh man, those were like the coolest sunglasses. It's like, great, I'm 55 and I'm finally cool with teenagers.
The movie I was thinking of was called Where the Heart Is, but that actually was released in 2000. So your point still remains, Jaden.
Yeah, she did a lot of great stuff. And Thor and Love and Thunder.
Yes. We're trying not to remember that one, okay?
I said it before. I don't think it was as bad as everybody else was hating on it. I gave it a long time before I saw it, and it wasn't as bad. It wasn't, I would call it good, but I definitely don't think it was as hate-worthy as it got.
Well, that may have been the way it was with me when I watched Flash, even though I saw it pretty, quick after it was released. I had absolutely no expectations for it. So then when I finally ended up watching it, it's like, well, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Hey, Natalie Portman was in Mars Attacks, so I'll take your apology whenever you want to give it.
That was a great movie, I have to say.
Never
But I don't
saw it.
remember Natalie Portman in it. Now that you say that, now that I think about it, you're right. But she didn't
She was
stand
the
up.
first daughter.
Yeah. Have you seen The Professional, though?
I've seen parts of The Professional. I never saw it all the way through.
It's a very excellent movie. I have to give it credit. It was very, very, very good.
But yeah, so getting back to in the NWA currently, there's several wrestlers under masks. Do you think that putting a wrestler under a mask is a good idea, Jaden? I mean, you've worked on the creative side of wrestling. Is that a good idea, or is it trying to shoehorn somebody into a gimmick?
First of all, I wish somebody would put a mask on Dave Dahl.
I know a guy that knows a guy.
So do all the fans.
Yeah. But seriously, I've seen people been giving mask gimmicks and turn it into something. I still think 5-star Matt Classic was better than Colt Cabana. I liked that Matt Classic gimmick. I thought that was great, and a lot of people did too.
Yeah.
And, if the person, it has to, first of all, they have to understand the assignment, and the person given the assignment has to understand the assignment, and they have to commit, and they have to have talent. There's 4 things need to be to get a mask gimmick over. I absolutely loved when Cyon was Mortis. I thought that was amazing for some reason. I just loved everything about that. It was done. I think it was Cyon probably that got it to be so good. But it's great. There are, again, people can be with talent and personality, and if they understand the assignment. I was waiting for DK to pop. I could tell he was reading it, so I was waiting to see his reaction.
I didn't say a word. I just let him go.
Yeah. I can tell he's reading his lips were moving. Morris was awesome. It was such a great gimmick. I don't know why I didn't get over more.
Okay, so here's where your boy Jay was totally wrong about things, because that whole Blood Runs Cold thing, I was like, this is going to be great, man. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be what takes WCW to the next level. It's like, not really. And then we get the NWO, I think that a year after, or maybe even 6 months after, and it's like, Blood Run what?
That's another person who I don't think had any idea where they were going with it. Had an idea, then had no idea how to get from point A to point B.
I'll say this, though. My blood runs cold. Hey!
Okay.
No. That's kind of like...
I like rap, too.
What was the name of that guy? This is probably before any of your times. But Crocodile Dundee. Remember Crocodile Dundee?
Bill
Yes.
Hogan.
Yeah. So after the success of the movie, of course, WWE had to have a gimmick.
Outback Jack. The greatest horrible wrestler of all time.
I mean,
Time a kangaroo down, spoke. Time a kangaroo down.
Down.
Oh, excuse me, Matthew Underwood corrected me. It's Paul Hogan.
Paul Hogan. They brought in Outback Jack or whatever with every vigilante, video package. Why can't I remember the word?
Vignette.
Vignette, yes, of him, basically doing all the same things that Paul Hogan was doing in the movie and everything.
That's not a knife. That's a spoon.
Yeah, and so they bring him in, and of course, at first, they're putting him over and everything like that, and the fans are sitting on their hands, going and buying popcorn because the guy sucked. Sorry, I don't know who it was, but he sucked.
Outback Jack. What are you talking about?
Well, I didn't know if he was somebody else before on the indie scene or what. He didn't look like it, or not in the indie scene in Territory days or whatever. But yeah, it was bad, and so like 4 months after he worked as a jobber, and about 2 months after that he was gone.
Well, he was trained by Les Thornton, but we don't let Les Thornton admit that.
Yes.
Those flights from Australia got expensive, and McMahon was just like, we can't keep doing this.
Probably. We're not bringing him in from Australia to lose.
Well, I think that's why they got rid of Corporal Kirshner, too, because every time you got to get him off the base, you got to get a permission from the drill instructor. I mean, come on, it gets expensive to do these things. Duke the Dumpster Drosy, you know how many cans he missed wrestling for the WWE?
Didn't Corporal Kirshner go on and do something else, though?
Super leather.
What?
Super leather, yeah. Death matches.
Super leather.
Oh.
A Leatherface gimmick.
Yeah, the Chainsaw Charlie before Chainsaw Charlie.
He actually left the WWF and went to Stampede, and then, if I remember, Portland, it was a heel.
Was Chainsaw Charlie not the dumbest thing ever?
It was.
Terry Funk.
And everybody knew it was Terry Funk. Everybody knew it was Terry Funk so much that they took the mask off him like the next day.
Yeah, the best story about that is they, what's his name? The guy with the Bucky Beaver teeth. Kevin Dunn, yeah. He's like, nobody knows who Terry Funk is. And because Jim Cornette said, why are you going to have Terry Funk, one of the biggest wrestlers in the world, wear a mask and come out with a chainsaw and act like he's somebody new? Like, nobody would know who Terry Funk is. And immediately he came out, everybody started saying Terry Funk.
And despite the fact that Terry Funk had wrestled in WWE for, a while and took off because his horse got sick.
Yeah.
So like the thing about it too is like it wasn't even a mask, right? It was pantyhose. And what's really offensive about that is, Saba Simba, before they gave him that gimmick, he was asking for them to put the pantyhose on his face.
Oh
God. It's funny. It's funny.
All right. That ends the show tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Jay's obviously a tad bit under the weather, mentally at least. And
that's funny. That's funny.
Did Jimmy Valiant invite him?
Yeah, imagine being over. Imagine having a party with Jimmy Valiant and Tony Atlas.
Try not to.
Well, I think that's what makes Ricky Morton cry. Hey, real quick, I got asked a question in the chat, so I'm going to answer it. I'm going to bring it up for you guys to talk about too, because I think this is a great question, and it's from our pal Paladin. It's from our pal Aiden, and he suggests or asks, what are your thoughts on Aldis? I said Aldis. It sounded like a guy from New Jersey. What are your thoughts on Aldis getting a producer role in the WWE? They wanted him for in-ring talent, but he chose to stay with the NWA for a few months more.
Chose.
What's that?
So I'm not sure how much he chose. He was under contract for a while.
Yeah, like he didn't have the option to leave. He was under. Remember? Okay, so looking at the contract situation again, this is just secondhand information. This might not be accurate, This is what we heard. So I want to preface that by saying, like, I don't actually know the contract status that Nick Aldis had with the NWA. However, I do know that their contracts tended to expire at the end of the year. So when Aldis signed on in 2017, it was towards the end of the year, and they had him. I think it was a multi-year deal from 2017. When it got to 2019, they re-signed him, and I remember in 2020 they made the announcement, and it was like, oh, Aldis is re-signed with the NWA, and we're like, of course he is. Why wouldn't he? Because this was before the pandemic, and there was no reason not to support him, not to enjoy him, all that stuff, right? And so then at the end of 2020, during the pandemic, where everyone was on hiatus, and this was the same thing for I believe Thunder Rosa as well. All those champions got re-signed because they had an option on their contract that they could exercise an option to keep him for another year. So at the last moment, because there was a point in time, guys, the rumor has it, Billy didn't tell me this, but the rumor has it that they were this close to just shutting the doors down. And I think a lot of us forget about that. There was a point in time where the NWA might not have come back after the pandemic. So these contracts were renegotiated at the late hour. And I think it's because they got that deal with Fight, and they said, okay, you're going to help pay for the production of the show. We're going to re-sign some of these talents. So Thunder Rosa got re-signed in 2020 for the 2021 season, and so did Nick Aldis. And remember, there were like 3 or 4 months there where there was nothing happening in the NWA at all. Remember, they did a few matches with Primetime Live, and then there was a falling out between United Wrestling Network and the NWA. And then, unfortunately, Josephus passed away. So all this stuff kind of happened while the NWA was inactive. When they came back, what's the first thing they did? They did that pay-per-view. They dedicated it to the memory of Josephus, and they had all these talents who, it was a different roster, right? Like, you had Aaron Stevens, you had Trevor Murdoch, but there was no Josephus, there was no Royce Isaacs, there was no Zicky Dice, there was no Ricky Starks. The whole roster looked different. There wasn't even a Allison Kay at this point. So I guess what I'm trying to say is all this was under contract, and they had that option for 2022 as well. And I think what, he had said, hey, look, I'm not going to resign in 2023. And that's when the whole thing kind of came out with all this happy. Although, like, you could read the room, obviously he wasn't happy with the comments that he was making and the gimmick that they were trying to come up with, where him and Billy were kind of shooting on each other. And of course that was going to end poorly. They worked themselves into a shoot. But eventually, he's out of contract. At any point, the WWE could have picked him up. They chose not to. I don't know what their reasoning is. I've said it before. I don't have to like all this to tell you that he's a great talent. And if I was starting a wrestling company, he'd be someone I would definitely look at. But for whatever reason, the WWE didn't hire him. Maybe it was a hiring freeze. I don't know. But he didn't get rehired from the he didn't get hired from the WWE to come to the NWA. Let me try that again. He didn't get hired into the WWE for whatever reason. They offered him this role as a producer. He took it. I think it's a smart move for Nick Aldis. He right now he has a nagging back injury. He took some time away from the indies to focus on getting his back in shape. If he's not able to go the way he used to, this is a great transition. Look at what they did for Adam Pearce, right? Adam Pearce, he took his shoes off in the middle of the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood ring. He took off his shoes, and he started working at the WWE Performance Center. Took that Performance Center job and became a producer and an agent for the WWE. Moved that into Succession to become essentially the authority figure that's on TV every week, who's making great money and not taking bumps every week. He's still very much a part of the wrestling business. He still gets to cut promos in a sense, and he doesn't have to take a single bump. So, like, for his family and for him, like, that was a great decision. Would I like to see Pierce wrestle one more time? Absolutely. But, he made the best decision for him. And I see what you're saying, Paladin. He's only 37. Sure. But he also has a bum card filled out. And if you could walk away from the sport on your own recognizance and have a fruitful life afterwards and not end up in a wheelchair or having nagging issues for the rest of your life, I mean, maybe that's the way to go. I'd love to hear your take on it, Jane. What do you think?
I think you make an excellent agent, and it's a lot of times the agents don't last long in the WWE. Pierce is definitely an exception, but a lot of the agents don't generally last long in the WWE, and they end up going back to the indie circuits and wrestling again. I think that happened twice with David Finley and other wrestlers and agents too, and trainers and stuff like that. So I guess right now, if he can get paid to recover, learn as much as he can from the WWE, he's also got a child. So, and his child's at the age now that he'll know that if he's away like on certain times, so now he can do what he needs to do, work, go see his child, not have to worry about injuring himself, be able to play with his child, to be able to do fun things, hold them and carry them and do whatever he needs to do. Doesn't have to worry about all the wear and tear on his body.
Okay, babe. You're the elder statesman here. I mean, obviously, you got bad knees, bad back, bad hips, bad shoulders, bad.
Yeah, you're not wrong on any of that.
I'm like 10 years younger, and I got all the same problems. But let's go.
No, I mean, look, Aldous, he didn't necessarily wrestle a modern style of wrestling, but he has been in it a long time, and he has worked probably stiffer things than what a lot of wrestlers are used to. I don't think a lot of people understand that, Pat O'Connor wrestled like into his 60s or something like that. He could still get in the ring. Put on
Who is that?
Pat O'Connor.
Pat O'Connor.
And he held the NWA world title in, I think, the late 50s. He was still wrestling in like 81. And he looked his age, he looked old, but he was still wrestling. He could still do it. And that was because in those old, slower, boring days, that some people like to call it, they didn't put as much punishment on their body. And it still looked real, but they didn't go out and do a whole lot of jumping and everything that, just tore their things apart. If you're talking about Prince earlier, a lot of people don't realize Prince had double hip replacement because, just within a couple of years before he OD'd, probably because, the reason he had the double hip surgery was because of all those years of him jumping on stage and jumping off speakers and jumping from one platform to another in high-heeled boots. It takes its toll after a while.
Are you telling me it had nothing to do with his bad basketball skills?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, but, to Nick Aldis, yeah, I mean, he's talked about his back injury and stuff like that. Will he wrestle again one day? Maybe he is young. If he can get his back sorted out and back in play. But, I mean, we've seen with Thunder Rosa. She's been out, a year now?
Yeah.
And she's still trying to make a comeback.
Maybe he hurt his back during the NWA for so long.
Probably.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, but, our friend Kevin Douglas, one of the things that he'll tell you is one of the reasons he got out of wrestling when he did was because he didn't want to have that broken down body.
Yeah.
And we still see where years later he had a medical issue because of it.
He almost died. You guys, for those of you guys who don't remember Kevin, because it's been a while since he's been on, Kevin Douglas is a former World Junior Heavyweight Champion, and he did go. I mean, when he wrestled, he went hard. And an injury he had several years ago came back to haunt him, where he was passing out, like just passing out at work, at home. And he went to the hospital. They had to do emergency surgery to replace his trachea, right? I think that's what it was.
Yeah, his artery, one of his arteries.
Excuse me, the artery.
Was it the carotid artery?
I think, I'm not trying to be silly, but it might have been. And had they not done the surgery when they did, it could have killed him. He could have died.
He basically had a stroke.
Yeah.
A small one. He went blind in his left eye. I think that's when that's how he ended up in the hospital. And so, yeah, I mean, and that was damage from wrestling. And it came back to haunt him all these years later.
Yeah.
And, how many injuries have we see? I just read recently where basically everyone's telling Big E not to step back in the ring again, like all the medical professionals, because he's hurt. And, a lot of people get excited when Bryan Danielson finally came back and stuff like that. The guy gets injured every 3 months.
Yeah.
In some form or another. His last one was a very bad break. Was it his ankle or his leg?
I think that's because he's vegan, doesn't eat meat.
Maybe. But whatever it was because he was in a wrestling ring is the reason.
Yeah.
And
he's also no longer vegan, I don't think.
Well, good for him.
Maybe he's vegetarian now. But anyway,
We're saying there's so many jokes to be made here, and I'm not going to do it. I don't want to offend our audience.
Yeah, I know. But
tell them to me, I'll say them.
My point is that, I mean, look, one of the agents back there is Jason Jordan, who, used to team with Chad Gable and got a neck injury. And he was smart. He never came back. He took the backstage role. And too many people are getting seriously injured, and then they want to come back. And it's like, man, it ain't worth it. And so if Nick Aldis, if his back is messed up, then don't go back in the ring. If NWA will pay you to be a producer or an agent or whatever.
Yeah.
And gosh. And then do that. So
Jason Kidd, yeah.
Tyson, all right, that's another one. I mean, even Steamboat's son, Richie, right? So they called him, he injured his back. And it's a shame that people are, we talk a lot about PJ Hawk, and we enjoyed the Hawks. And I'll tell you to this day, PJ Hawk was an idiot for jumping off a balcony in a mall. Because one of these days, people are going to do that, and they're going to go splat. And, one of the things that Jaden and I send each other back and forth are indie shows where people are all but killing themselves.
For a hot dog and a handshake.
Yeah, for a hot dog. Yeah, hot dog, drink, and chips. You can have 2 of the 3, and I'll shake your hand. Get out of here, kid. You bother me.
Yeah, unlike Dave Daw, who's killing the wrestling business, they're killing themselves.
Right.
Can we get Dave Dahl to do something that would kill himself? Mm-hmm. I take that back. You know what? When it came out of my mouth, it felt wrong. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
No, that's okay. Now Dave Lagana's going to call you and make sure that you're not promoting suicide. So anyhow,
it was a bad joke.
Right.
He's making a bad joke about a bad joke.
Okay. Oh, I got it.
Yeah, I explained it to him.
Am I getting canceled? You guys.
So anyway, I saw where at least one person, I think maybe 2 people, said something about Nick Aldis claims the NWA owes him money. I don't know. I know Billy Corgan said he was suspended indefinitely for something. So my guess is he probably never paid the last of the contract.
Probably.
Arguing that he was suspended. So.
And look. I feel the NWA owes me money. All Let's be honest here, guys. It's easy to say that. We don't know nothing. We don't know nothing. Just because I say something doesn't mean it's true. And I like Nick. Well, let me rephrase that. I like the wrestler that Nick Aldis was. I didn't like the person that Nick Aldis was. If Aldis was owed money, he was also flapping his gums quite a bit in the negative about the NWA. If I'm Billy Corgan, I'm not going to pay that guy for talking all that shit about me, especially when I could terminate his contract at any time. That's the thing about sports entertainment, guys. Their contracts are very one-sided. Until there's a union, these guys are always going to be at the mercy of the employer. And if tomorrow Vince McMahon wants to fire the entire WWE roster, then he can. That's his not obligation. That's his
Prerogative.
Prerogative. Yeah. And what's that?
It's my prerogative.
There you go.
All
and
right, Bobby Brown. There we go.
That's Chris Brown. Never mind. And the thing about it is, if Billy says, "Hey, you know what? I don't like the way you're talking about the NWA. Well, you're under contract. I'm going to go ahead and terminate your contract." He has that right to do that.
It depends on how the contract's worded. Honestly, I would think Aldis to be smarter than let a contract out, but it all depends on how contracts are worded.
Well,
can we read some of the way it was
phrased? The way it was phrased, both in the NWA and outside, was Billy Corgan said that he had been suspended indefinitely, which was like in October or something like that. His contract was supposed to end in December.
Yeah.
My guess is that he never paid him whatever that contract was from October through December. I'm assuming that there was money that was supposed to be paid. Billy Corgan says you're suspended. If Nick Aldis says he is owed it, but he's unwilling to sue for it, my guess is the contract probably allowed for that.
Can we read some of the comments for a bit?
Sure.
Because these guys are on fire tonight, and I feel like we should acknowledge that.
They probably have an ointment to help that.
Yeah. Matthew Underwood says, and this is kind of, I think this is wishful thinking. Matthew is a big Aldis fan. He likes the whole Cody Aldis dynamic, and I know that. So we'll say it anyways, but he can heal up until post-WrestleMania. If Cody needs opponents, if he's still the guy, and I think he is, or LA Knight is in the IC picture, you could bring him in for that role. And that's definitely, look, there's some truth to that. We've seen talents, sitting on the bench waiting for their opportunity. If someone gets hurt, that's an opportunity for all of us. But I just don't think that, look, if they wanted to hire him as a wrestler, they could have. They could have done it all last year. He's at home. He's been out of a contract since October of 2022. Billy let him out of the contract. He was fired or suspended, however you want to phrase it. He was out of contract. A whole year went, or not a whole year, but we're like in August. So 8 months, and no one made a move on him. Not AEW, not New Japan, not WWE, not Pro Wrestling Noah, not All Japan, not AAA, not CMLL, or maybe they did, but they didn't meet what he was asking for. So, it is what it is. James H. Jackson, my buddy James, he says, "You mean doing 40 spots in a spot fest match doesn't equal longevity?" Sadly, no. Paladin says, "I don't watch WWE. Any talent that goes there," did it pop up? My screen is being stupid. Any talent that goes there, it's as if they retired for me. I get that. Like, I feel that way. I keep up with everything. DK, do you keep up? I mean, I know you don't watch every AEW show. I know you don't watch every NWA show, but you keep up with everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, for AEW, I've talked about this before. For AEW and WWE, I listen to the reviews on Wrestle Talk, and my phone is jingling. I listen to the reviews on Wrestle Talk. I record them. If they say anything is interesting, I'll go watch that one part. And let's just say I haven't watched any wrestling in months, except for I did watch what's it called? What was the last premium live event that they just did?
SummerSlam.
SummerSlam. So I did watch SummerSlam in the sense that I had it on while I was doing other things. So I did see bits and pieces of that. I mainly watched for Gunther and McIntyre, which I must say, Gunther and Sheamus was a much better match. And I barely paid attention to the bloodline because I basically had figured out what was going to happen on that one.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, and didn't pay much attention to. I watched the Battle Royal just to see if they're going to let LA Knight win, which he did. So I was happy for that.
Yeah.
LA Knight. I was just the other day. I was going through some photos on the old on our Facebook page. I used to post all my photos there, and man, I have so many photos of LA Knights and Brian Cage back when they were youngins, and with Percy Pringle and I was thinking about it. I actually got to see LA Knight challenge Scrap Iron Adam Pearce for the 10 pounds of gold in Glendale. It's kind of amazing when you think about like. That's how long.
Yeah, I felt like I watched that.
If you watch Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, you did.
Yeah, okay.
Matthew Underwood says the Fed's pay-per-view matches are good. Their weekly programming has next to nothing matches. I mean, I will always watch WrestleMania, and I will always watch the Royal Rumble, always. And then, like DK said, if something's interesting, like if they're building up a good storyline, I might check it out. I still haven't watched it yet, but I wanted to watch. I think it was what was the pay-per-view that happened in Puerto Rico, because that one was supposed to be really good.
Backlash, I think.
Backlash. I think I want to go. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but that's one I want to watch.
I totally forgot about that one. I didn't see it at all.
Paladin says the first time he ever saw CM Punk work was in AEW. I mean, you missed out on all his whole Ring of Honor run, his stuff with TNA. His Ring of Honor stuff is what made him famous. I think his Ring of Honor stuff was better than his WWE stuff. He just didn't have as big a platform.
WWE never really used him right, from what I understand. Okay. Full confession, I was not watching WWE at all, nor keeping up with it during the time CM Punk was there. I remember someone saying he won the title.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. And that was basically it. When I finally started watching WWE again was just before he lost the title to Cena. The Cena they lost?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's literally like 2 months before. So I never really saw him in WWE to know. I've been told WWE didn't really book him very well, and that even as the champion, he often wasn't the main event.
Yeah. He was. Look, I'll say this, and I saw. I know Willie said that CM Punk is a terrible wrestler. I beg to differ. I don't think that WWE was ever the right environment for him, but he was able to take everything they gave him and do something at least noteworthy with. I mean, with the exception of Ryback, I mean, he had some pretty good feuds in the WWE when he was there. But let's keep moving on. Paladin mentioned that AJ Lee just left WoW. I can confirm she was not in the broadcasting booth at the TV tapings. Some people are saying she's going to go to AEW and do what? She's going to wrestle? If she's going to wrestle, great. If she's going to go be a producer, don't they have 100 producers already? I just don't see that's a big spit. And the thing about WoW, I'll go on a tangent here real quick, and you guys could jump in if you want to. I feel like WoW would be a great place for some of these older ladies, and I'm not saying old ladies. I'm saying older ladies. Some of the ladies who, it is definitely a young women's sport. We look at someone like Melina or someone like Velvet Sky, and we don't give them the praise or recognition that they should deserve. Melina was a former Divas champion. Not Velvet Sky, Angelina Love is a former Impact Women's champion, knockout champion. I feel like there'd be a place for both of those ladies in WoW, and I'm kind of wowed that they're not there.
Funny.
Thanks. Let's get to some more comments, and then we'll get back to more of Jaden jokes. Rock is a crook. Sorry, Willie, I don't follow.
Rock is a crock.
Rock.
Oh, Croc, excuse me. Natty and Neidhart could kill in WoW. Matthew, I 100% agree with you. I feel like she's so underutilized in the WWE, and I know she had that gatekeeper role, and maybe she still does, but like, I think anywhere else, she's a women's world champion. If you put her in, if you brought her to the NWA, would either one of you have a problem if she's the one that beat Camille?
No, not at all.
No, not really.
I'm a big Natty Neidhart fan. I mean, besides the way she's gorgeous, she's an amazing wrestler too. That heart has something going on.
Which one do you like better, Natty or her sister?
No comment. Doesn't the sister have an OnlyFans?
I don't know, does she?
I think so.
Is that where those racy pictures of her and Natty come out of?
Probably.
I'm sorry. The term is now spicy.
Yes.
Uh,
I saw a good comment on here, and I'm going to jump back to it. I do want to answer a few more of your questions, but we do have more things to get to here, guys. So let's see. Jammin' Music Man says, question for you guys. I love Jammin' Music Man's question because he likes to go back into the vaults for the NWA. And so, like, we'll get something that we haven't heard in a while. So he's like, did any of you guys watch the NWA Texoma Wrestling? DK, didn't you actually go to a couple of those shows?
yeah, I went to 2 or 3 of the shows, and I watched some of them on that Tiger Dude's channel. He used to broadcast them live.
Roswell says, I never heard of Texoma. And then, like, Jammin' Music Man's kind of priming us, too, because, like, did you guys watch it? Because did you know that they have shows on YouTube with Jack Dane and Tim Storm wrestling? And then this one's my favorite one. If you guys could remember back to the beginning of the pandemic and Tiger Joe, Tiger Joe, or Joe Exotic, whatever you want to call him, did help promote shows for Texoma. I think they even had a few shows at the wildlife park, right? And there's pictures.
The one that I know of. They did a fundraiser that drew like 4 people.
Are you serious?
Tim's in an interview, Tim Storm was talking about it, and it didn't, it was hot. They were out in the middle of like nowhere, and I don't think it drew.
There was a picture of Tim and Joe Exotic that they put on a 10 Pounds of Gold episode early on, and the whole time Joe Exotic is in prison. So. And then Matthew Underwood says, "You can probably
real quick. What would you do if DK woke up with Joe Exotic's hair?"
Celebrate the man for being brave.
I'd just be glad to have hair.
Matthew Underwood, what pics are you talking about? Because I'm all about some. Oh, you mean the old? Okay, no, they're not interested. My pictures weren't great. I'm not a great photographer. I'm decent at best. And actually, a lot of my wife, who was probably the better photographer, took a lot of those. But back then, we didn't have a great camera, so it was just what it was. Let's see. Gosh, there's so much good stuff to get to here. James
Real
H.
quick, Matthew Underwood. Did you know he was on the resurgence of the Zoe 101 thing they just had on I guess that's Peacock. Yeah, they brought back the Zoe 101 cast because Matthew Underwood's character Logan Reese was getting married.
I am so lost. And then you pissed off DK. He just dropped out.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, Matthew Underwood. That's the actor who played the guy Logan Reese in the Zoe 101 TV show.
I'm sorry, I don't know. You might as well be speaking a foreign language to me. I have no idea what Zoe 101 is.
Oh, the girl I used to date loved that show. It was some show with Jamie Lynn Spears.
Wait, how old? Never mind, I don't want to know. James H. Jackson said his Ring of Honor stuff had Bookham Gabe doing the storylines in his matches, so that helps a lot. I think that's in regards to CM Punk. Jammin says the last WWE show I watched was the Rumble 2023. I think that was my last full show too. No, I watched WrestleMania. Take it back. Dave Scooby says, think of how many WWE talents made their way through Ring of Honor back in the day. I mean, that's the list is just almost endless. And like a lot of those guys have moved on from the WWE, whether it be AEW or just out of wrestling altogether. Let's see. There's so much stuff here. You guys, Paladin says, I like WoW. It's got great production. It looks beautiful. Genie Bus did not spare any expenses. They built at this absolutely gorgeous concert hall. It's called the Belasco, and it's like 100 years old. And when you look up at the ceiling, it's like it looks like it could have been done by Da Vinci. It's just beautiful. It's meticulous, like gold and these paintings on the ceiling, and it looks gorgeous. And they don't show a single bit of it in the arena. That place could literally be in a TV studio. That place could be in some sort of set on Universal Studios lot, and you wouldn't know the difference. It's like, why are you guys filming in such a beautiful looking place? Like, you don't even show what it is. You could be filming anywhere. I always thought that was funny. Why do they do that? Jaden, you think they get a better rate at this concert venue than they would on like a backlot studio somewhere?
I assume it's either the acoustics or the ambiance.
But you throw away the ambiance when you have all the WoW stickers everywhere, and it's not stickers, but like lights and stuff. And like you can't even tell that you're in this beautiful arena.
Could you tell why you were there?
I mean, so the ring's right in front of me, right? And a couple of times that you guys watch on TV, you might see me doing this. So like, that's so awesome up there. That's pretty badass, I'm not even watching the match. I'm more concerned about what's going on the ceiling.
Maybe that's why they don't put it on TV. Nobody will pay attention to the wrestling. It's probably the acoustics, honestly, and it's probably the accessibility to the production. A lot of buildings are just not production ready. You can do no matter what you do, it's just not going to look right. So those studio halls and those concert halls are usually very well set up for both sound and lighting. That's probably why.
Matthew Underwood had a connection to the whole tiger exotic animal community. That's pretty awesome. I just saw that
2 baby tigers at a amusement park.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to shout out Traducus for jumping on the stream. Traducus used to join us years ago. Well, maybe not years ago, maybe just a year or two ago. I haven't seen his name live on a stream in a while. So what's up, Traducus? Glad you're here. Dave Scooby points out that my pal, my friend of the show, Ruby Reyes, Reina Del Rey, and wow, Miss Reyes, if you're nasty, she is literally kicking ass at WoW right now. And I'm so excited for her. I'm proud of her. Without sounding too cheesy, like I literally messaged her after seeing the WoW taping, and I was like, I'm so proud of your efforts here. WoW. I'm so proud of what you've been able to accomplish. Like maybe you don't watch WoW, maybe you do. I don't know, but it's definitely not AEW. It's not WWE, but it's a weekly wrestling show that's showcasing women's wrestling. And I mean, this isn't Glow. It's definitely a step up from what it was in the 80s. And I mean, I'm really proud of her. So I'll pass that along, Scoob, when I see her. But yeah, I'm very proud of Reyes. I gave her an Alliance tank top T-shirt. You probably won't see it on TV. WoW's kind of sticklers about that, but go follow her on Instagram. Maybe you'll see it pop up, or maybe not. Maybe she'll nick all this and just throw it in the trash. Did I ever tell that story on here?
Yeah, but you can tell it again.
So, I guess it was had to be towards the end of the year. Maybe it was the first of the year. I don't know. It was when Aldous was already world champion, and at that point, he and I were all right. We were pretty good, like very professional with one another. He would message me about things on the internet regarding the World's Heavyweight Championship, where it'd been, who did what, and I had no problem helping him research stuff. And I flew all the way to China to watch this guy wrestle, so I thought we had a pretty fair relationship. So I gave him an Alliance T-shirt. Now I might have sized him wrong because apparently, like, I'm a big dude. I'm a 2Xer. And I just figured, like he's bigger than me. Dude's packed with muscle. So I gave him like an XL, thinking like that was probably maybe too big of a shirt. I don't know. Maybe I offended him. Never saw him wear it once. I think and I honestly believe he just threw it away that night.
I thought you saw somebody else wearing it.
Oh, no. No. Okay. So that's another story. So when we were in Shamlet, I can never pronounce that city's name right. Camlet. I don't know. When we were in Louisiana near New Orleans. Chamelet. I don't know.
It's actually one of those ones. I think there's 3 different ways you can say it, and all of them are right.
I think Matthew Underwood is from Louisiana, so if he can correct me here, Polka Dot Pam sometimes will try to fix it for me, but I'm open to tell me if I'm wrong. Anyways, so I gave 2 hats to. I brought a stack of hats, and I gave a hat to Will Martin from This Is Pro Wrestling Podcast. I gave a hat to. I gave 2 hats to the women's tag team champions, Kenzie Page and Ella Envy. Matthew Underwood says Chalmet. Okay, Chalmet. I gave a hat to Dave Scooby. I'm trying to think who else I might have gave a hat to. I gave a hat to Colby Carino, and I gave a hat to Sauronaro. Sauronaro cut a promo for us, so I gave him a hat too. So I felt pretty good about that. Like I was like, oh man, I passed out some hats. Maybe we'll see them show up on NWA programming. At the very least, maybe we'll see them on Instagram. And these hats aren't cheap. They were like I think I paid like between $15 to $20 each for them. I don't remember the exact price, but it wasn't cheap. And I'm in the airport, and some dude who was not any of those people mentioned is wearing the hat. And so I had my hat on too, and I was like, "That I don't know who that dude is." And my wife was like, "Honey, look, that guy bought one of your hats." And I'm like, "No, he didn't buy that. He didn't buy that hat." So yeah, somebody gifted him a hat. Oh, I gave one to Luke Hawk too, so maybe it might have been Luke Hawk.
He gave one to Dr. Zirconium, and I stole it from him.
Does he wear it? But do you wear it in good health?
Oh, I did until it started falling apart. I really wore the hell out of that hat.
Well, then I'll have to send another one out to you.
It's not even black anymore. It's kind of brown.
I have a one hat that I wear quite a bit. My other business, my Buckets for Rent business, I'll wear that hat everywhere, and it's all starting to come apart. It's like bleached up here for when I wore it in the pool, and good times.
Yeah, I've done a similar thing. Worked at the gym.
Yeah, well, gyms will ruin your hats because you sweat right through it.
Yeah.
Turducka says, especially since McChesney worked in Control Your Narrative. I didn't know. I don't even know who McChesney is. I don't mean to sound ignorant there, Turducka. Oh, here he goes. Oh, here we go. Sorry. There was more to it. I just want to say, if EC3 beats Tyrus, which if he goes for the legs, he should, Big League John McChesney had the title shot in Revenge Pro Wrestling in Erie, Pennsylvania, which McChesney, being the RPW champion, is defending the title against EC3. It makes me excited to know that the NWA World Heavyweight Champion would be my local area champion. But I also wonder if that means McChesney is going to work with the NWA in the future, especially since McChesney worked in Control Your Narrative. I mean,
I remember John McChesney. He was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I know that EC3 has been really kind of. I feel like it's the give back community right now. Like he's efforting to get things going. The Exodus Pro. He's bringing in talent, not just from his local area, but he's bringing in some NWA talent, and I think we're going to see a different look for some of these guys that we've been growing. What was that?
Sorry, my phone.
Oh, I thought like you don't have little kids, DK. What's going on over there?
I thought it was turned down. It wasn't.
Turducka.
It could have been a lot worse when he was. He could have been playing.
Traducus.
Could have been Jaden's.
That's true. Traducus just railed me by saying, was the guy who regifted the hat Ray Gonzalez the greatest NWA champion? Ooh, Traducus, you son of a gun. I'd say worse, but I don't want to get demonetized.
What are you downloading my OnlyFans there, DK?
Oh, God.
No.
Sam Retro's going to wear his hat on the 75th, and I'm looking. Look, I'm hoping. The hope is I'm going to hand out a bunch of T-shirts at the event. If anybody wants to put those shirts on and represent at the pay-per-view on Saturday night, awesome. If you don't, that's totally cool. If you want to wear them the next night on Sunday, awesome, totally cool. I'm just excited that anyone is interested in wearing the Alliance merch because, you know, the whole point of this, all these podcasts, all these live streams, the website, the social media, we're trying to build a community, guys. I don't know if you guys picking up on what we're putting down here, but the whole effort of this was to make a community for the NWA. Jaden, DKM, and myself, and I think Luthez, who I don't think is on the show right now, we all used to talk on the message boards back in the old days before there were instant messaging and before there was a YouTube. And we've been pals for a very long time through this community. And it was so cool that last year I finally got to meet DKM in person. And earlier this year, I finally got to meet Jaden in person. And, you know, I met Dave Scooby a couple of shows ago. And I got to meet Jason Newsom, who I saw in the chat earlier. I got to meet him at the Crockett Cup last year. And I got to meet Alliance Gold, Tim, and his wife at the meetup in New Jersey. And I'm hoping I'm really looking forward to meeting everybody. Like Sam Retro's going to be there, Dez is going to be there. I know Tim's going to be there, Scooby's going to be there. And I have other friends that are coming in too. And you know, I'm going to, hey guys, this is A-Talks. Meet A-Talks. He goes to every wrestling show in California. I'm trying to help build this community because you know, there isn't a ton of NWA fans out there. And if we are the voice of the fans, and so be it. Let's get out there and you know, maybe we can help stir some positivity for the NWA. Maybe we can make things a little bit better. Maybe
We're
not.
the voice of the hopeless.
Shit. Put it on a shirt. Put it on a shirt.
Speaking of that, by the way, I actually wanted to tell you, I really think you should take that Bass logo and put it on a hat too.
Okay.
I think that would look excellent on a hat. I've been meaning to tell you that. And a bikini.
I just so before we went to Mexico last year for Christmas, I bought my wife an Alliance bikini because no way she was going to wear it, and then 100% she did. And then they took it off like you couldn't order it anymore, and I was like, oh man. So then I went and looked, and now that's back up. So we have an Alliance vlog bikini. If you want to pressure your wife into wearing Alliance vlog bikinis, go right ahead. You don't even have to post it. You don't. That's for you. That's your own personal time. But yeah, the hat, the logo on the mask, I could do that.
Yeah, I think that'll look excellent on the hat. I've been meaning to say that.
And I love this. Luthez. That's right, brother. Champions come and go. Owners come and go. We are the Alliance. This thing, this group, it's grown a lot more now than it's ever been. But this group quite literally has 3 generations of ownerships, maybe a dozen world champions that have been a part of it. So I mean, it's been a long-standing thing, and it's hopefully only getting better and growing. And speaking of wives, my beautiful wife just walked in. So if you hear somebody talking, it's not schizophrenia or anything. My wife's actually here. And then, so yeah, Sam Retro said if you're not on the Discord, you're missing out. You definitely should get on there. A lot of interesting conversation. Jamming Music Man. Discord, it's kind of like message boards for the modern era. We kind of talk about everything, but you know, we have some specific stuff. Like we have a MCU chat, and we have like a power chat, and then just a general topic chat. And of course, if there's interesting topics that people want to talk about, we can always pull that together too.
I go there and get everybody angry, and they think I'm working a gimmick.
They don't know that you're just really an asshole. That's it, though.
I don't know why not. I've told them.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, all three of us are assholes in our own way, but you guys still seem to come watch us, and I appreciate that about you guys.
People think my grumpy old man's a gimmick.
It's not.
God.
It's not. I was literally there when he was yelling at the clouds and Shamlet. That's how you say it.
Why are we
Shamlet.
talking about Shamlet?
We're talking about it because we're talking about the NWA. I don't know. You know, let's see. Wrestling with the MMA says, I got to put this up because he's putting over the podcast, so we got to put that over. I've enjoyed the cut up podcast episodes you've been posting to the Lions Blog. I'm trying to, Shalmet. Damn it, see, I already got it wrong. Shalmet. Getting back to Jeremy's post, and I don't know if everyone on here knows this, but I was trying to do something different. The podcast, we were doing the live stream every Thursday, and we were just putting that live stream up on Spotify so that you could listen to the same exact show you're listening to now. But I didn't see the value in that because I just kept thinking like, well, I'd rather you listen to it on YouTube if you're going to listen to it. So we tried to change it up a little bit and have added more value to the Spotify show. When I say Spotify, I just mean iTunes, Amazon, every place you get your podcast. It's a little bit different, and I've tried to do some more exclusive content that you're not hearing on the live streams. So if you're one of these guys who like listens to music while you're at work, you want to hear some stuff, jump on that podcast. The Alliance Blog podcast is available on all streaming services. There's a lot of good conversations going on here, so we got to keep going. James H. Jackson says everything's a work. Not wrong. Matthew Underwood.
Here's the thing when it comes to wrestling. Been told this a million times, and I believe it 100%. Everything in wrestling's a work. Everything in wrestling's a shoot.
Jamming Music Man says, here's a throwback, and I'm going to let you guys answer this. So I'm going to lay out. What's your thoughts on Gary Steele's NWA title reign from 1999?
Do you want to start, DK, or do you want me to start?
You can start. I'm curious as to your view.
I actually liked Gary Steele and thought he had a lot of potential as a wrestler. He had a lot of talent. He was a very good British competitor. I think it was done more in the thing to get the world title aspect over, in my opinion, being it's never really been defended in the United Kingdom until much more recently. Like in the history of the NWA, there really wasn't a British member of the NWA, or wasn't defended in the Great Britain area at all during that time. So it was a good way to get something special to happen. Just like everything in that time, I think if they had somebody in charge who was really good at putting things together and they had a good outlet for it, it could have been something. Unfortunately, it was just more of a, hey, we have a championship match to change in, a world title. But again, he was a good wrestler and a good something, I guess, for something special to the NWA, but he didn't have the capability or the know-how to capitalize on it. DK?
Among the smarks that followed the NWA at the time, he was very popular. And he was, in fact, I really enjoyed him too. There was a big complaint. A lot of us felt like he kind of got screwed over in his world title thing.
I can't imagine that happening in the NWA.
No, well,
controversy.
Yeah, right. For those who don't know, he won the title in a three-way. And who was the champion? Was it
It was Hashimoto, wasn't it?
What?
Or was it Carino? It was Carino, right?
No. Carino lost to Hashimoto. It was
Ogawa, wasn't it?
Ogawa, yeah. That's it.
Okay. All right. So it was, I don't remember who the third person was. I'm very sorry. But it was Ogawa and another person in Steel, and they were wrestling in a three-way. It was elimination style. And so Ogawa had just eliminated the other guy when Steel rolled up Ogawa for the win. So it was almost like a cheap win, you know.
Was it Brian Anthony?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't believe I remember that.
I was literally looking it up, and just as you said it, like, yep, right there, Brian Anthony.
I think
the name Brian Anthony popped out to me once you said that. I'm like, I have no idea why I remember that. That is someone else buried in there.
He was the one that was, oh God, talk about a freaking mess the NWA was back then. He was the one that there was legitimate heat between some of the NWA promoters. So I know that's surprising, but yes, there was legitimate heat. And so they turned it into a storyline.
They were going to split the union.
Right. And so Brian Anthony was supposed to have a title defense against Ogawa, but he wasn't there. And so he brought out someone with that thing and, you know, and used that name and pinned him. And so he was claiming to be the real world champion. And so half the promoters or a third of the promoters were recognizing him, and the others were recognizing Ogawa as the champion. Now, this came from a promoter who was Tony Rumble, who was a jackass. Sorry for those that may have known him and loved him. But basically, he had a tendency to out dirty laundry of the NWA. And he was mad because he found out that the NWA had voted to give his team the NWA World Tag Team titles, but didn't tell him they had also voted to give Ken Taylor's team the titles afterwards. And so he was mad because no one had told him and everything like that. In fact, he refused to recognize the title change when it finally happened and everything.
What a maroon.
Oh, there was a big mess. Like, they basically said they couldn't defend the titles until they faced Team Extreme was the name of the Texas team. Until they faced Team Extreme. So he did a title change up there and then claimed that the titles that were won by Team Extreme were his promotions tag team titles, not the world tag team titles. And so he continued to recognize his team as the world tag team champions. So when he was told he could get kicked out for recognizing other world champions, he dropped the world from it and just called them the NWA tag team champions. And it was one of those things where who knows where it would have gone, but he sadly passed away. And his promotion didn't survive a whole lot longer. But anyway, so Brian Anthony was this fake champion. So there was a three-way between the three of them. He won. Then there was the rematch actually in Tony Rumble's promotion, where Rumble came out with Ogawa, even though Ogawa didn't want him there, and then did something that this like 5 days later, 6 days later, one of those typical hot shot title changes, and he brought it back, and Ogawa regained the title and beat up Rumble or something like that. I don't remember exactly. And so he was never given a real title reign.
And is it okay if
he actually sort of won it a second time.
Yeah.
And that was when Steve Corino retired as champion and then went to Florida and lost to, that was Hashimoto, right?
Yeah.
Except for the match was stopped and Jim Miller, who was one of the idiot promoters at the time and had just become NWA president, walks out, and for the first time ever, storyline-wise, he held up the NWA title because Hashimoto had not won by pinfall or submission. So Carino was supposedly retired. Hashimoto had won the title, but he wasn't champion. And then Carino went on to continue to defend his belt, went to England, to the United Kingdom, where he defended his belt in a ladder match against Steele. He's the one that climbed the ladder, unhooked the belt, but dropped it, and Steele caught it at the bottom. And so he was claiming to be champion again, which led to a round-robin tournament in, guess where? Jim Miller's promotion, where basically they wrestled each other that night, and the first one to get 2 straight victories, which would mean that he beat both guys in a row, would be the champion. But that's not the way they set the matches up. It was like Hashimoto beat Steele, and then Carino, or whoever the other person was, beat Steele. And then Hashimoto beat the guy, and then congratulations, he's the champion. So it was this horribly booked segment from the time that Carino announced his retirement and stopped showing up for title defenses until they filled the damn title at Jim Miller's show. Because he didn't want title change taking place at Brody's show because he didn't like Brody.
Can I talk a little bit about Gary Steele now?
No.
The wrestler? Too bad.
Yes.
So Gary Steele kind of he broke into the Hammerlock promotion that was based in the UK. That was the first significant NWA promotion in the UK. Before that, the UK was kind of like it was either like WWE or like World of Sport. Now they had wrestling promotions do tours there, like WCW went through there, and also at the same time, or not same time, but later down the road, World Wrestling All Stars from Australia did a few tours there, and of course, since then, Impact has done a lot of tours there. But Hammerlock was one of the bigger promotions at the time, and we're talking like guys like Andre Baker. We're talking about Doug Williams, and of course, Gary Steele was very much one of these guys. And Gary Steele, after about 4 years working in Hammerlock and kind of building up his reputation, he was chosen to be an opponent for Ogawa, not in an NWA ring, but in Japan for the UFO, which was like, that was, I believe, Inoki's promotion at the time, where it was more of a not mixed martial arts, but more of a shoot style of wrestling. It was still worked, but it was like a shoot work style of wrestling. So, I mean, that right there in and of itself, Gary Steele was a tough dude to be in the ring with Ogawa, who was a former judo not gold medalist, but a judo medalist in the Olympics.
I think he was silver medalist.
Silver medalist. And so he wrestled. First, they had a match in Georgia. I believe that was with Wildside. Maybe it was not Wildside. I don't remember. But they had a title match there. So you had a guy from the UK wrestling a guy from Japan in Georgia, of all places, for the 10 pounds of gold. Then they had another match in Japan, UFO, at the Osaka Prefectural Gymnasium in Osaka, Japan. And so, like, there's your next big step for him. He doesn't win the title there either. And storyline-wise at this time, remember, Ogawa's the guy that beat Dan the Beast Severn for the belts. Now, Ogawa's wrestling all over Japan, and the storyline-wise, Hashimoto has been chasing Ogawa. And, like, he really, like, Ogawa really brutalized Hashimoto in a New Japan ring, so much so that they thought he had served like a concussion, and they pulled Hashimoto out. When Ogawa had come to the United States, Hashimoto jumped on a plane and followed him here. They never actually had another return bout. They never had that other match, but they were battling each other, or he was trying to pursue Ogawa to give him another NWA title match. Then storylines changed, and much like what DK was explaining, the whole battle of the belts, Gary Steele finally wins the title in that three-way with Ogawa and Anthony, and then whatever happens, like, Gary Steele somehow ends up back with that title. I never heard that story before of the ladder match, but I've always seen like, yeah, he was defending the title in the UK. It's like, wait, hold on now. Like that whole storyline was just bonkers. So at the very least, they did get some closure. Gary still deserved better than what he got. I do agree with that. I will say this. I know towards the end of his career, he had wrestled for a few matches in 0-1. And I know that everybody's pal, Nick Aldis, put him over at the first Crockett Cup with the Lightning One era when asked about former UK champions or asked about being a UK World Heavyweight Champion. Aldis was very political and also very progressive in mentioning that Gary still was a former NWA World Champion. Well, I'm sorry. I just wanted to give the guy his due. And
no, I mean, that's all good. I mean, there was a reason the fans liked him.
Yeah.
And, you know, at the time. So, you know, a lot of us wanted him to have a serious run with the title. Now, it may not have been. I mean, they put the title on a Japanese guy who never, you know, defend the title once every 10 months or, you know, not that bad, but, you know, rarely. And so we couldn't understand why they couldn't have let him hold the title and defend it in the UK for a while. But, oh, well, politics.
Well, yeah. And at the time, too, you got to also remember that.
Was that before Marquez?
Yeah. That was before Marquez, but that was when Inoki had a lot of authority still with the NWA. Like he was still kind of he was
the actual member. Inoki.
Yeah. And so over the course of 195 days, Ogawa defended that title like 8 times. He beat Severn in a UFO ring. Again, that was the Inoki promotion, and then Ogawa would go to your neck of the woods at North Richland Hills, Texas, and defend against Dan Severn. They'd have a double count out, and then in 5 more minutes, they went to the time limit draw. Then he would defeat Gary Steele. He would defeat Doug Gilbert. He would defeat Biggie Biggs. And,
yeah, Biggie always talks about that match.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. Biggie Biggs has a similar story to our pal Jeremiah Plunkett, you know, both wrestling the Japanese wrestler who was the NWA World Champion. I think that's kind of interesting. But guys, we're kind of running out of time here. I don't think we're going to be able to get to Power tonight just because I'm a stranger in a strange land and I got to get going. Is there anything else that you want to hit on real quick before we call it a night?
I think we should let the New Alliance guys cover Power so we can just talk about wrestling.
I mean, they would probably take us up on that.
Works for me.
But you guys got to start bringing more of your A game like tonight.
I always bring my A game.
I always bring my C game because why should you guys get the best?
Damn. Like that?
Sorry. When Jaden said what he said, it just seemed like the natural response.
Yeah, I'm sure of it. The Jammin' Music Man, who has been very interested in this conversation, he says there's a lot of forgotten NWA champions over the years. Yeah, I mean, yes, 100%. You know,
including some we try to forget.
Huh?
Including some we try to forget.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he's, what do you call him? The Sheik?
I don't remember him.
You know, a few days ago, we were talking about Tokyo Monster. Excuse me. On the pre-party, we were talking about Tokyo Monster Cahagas. Maybe he's somebody that we can invite back on the show and kind of have a conversation about, hey, did we get this right? What do you think? Luthez said, what's the record for people in the chat? Did we reach that tonight? About 26 was the record, and we were very high tonight. We weren't 26. But I do thank everyone for...
You might have been high.
It's legal in Nevada.
Good point. Isn't it legal in California?
Yes.
Explains a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Isn't Dave Meltzer from California?
Look, don't put that on me. Jaden, I know there's a Pause for the Cause event that's coming up. I believe it's next month, right?
No, October.
Ah, damn it. It's coming up in 2 months, right?
Yes, October 6th in Glassboro, New Jersey. Pause for the Cause. It's actually going to be a benefit now for the Gloucester County Animal Shelter. Easy for me to say. So always a big thing. I always want to help the animals. Gotta love the puppies, Gotta make sure we help the puppies.
I love
We're dogs, so we support the puppies. And the I guess I'll just say the kitties. That's not the word I was originally going to use. But
you gotta be careful. We don't want to get demonetized. You can talk about kitties. You can talk about sweater puppies. You just got to do it carefully.
Yes. But it's definitely, again, pause for the cause. I know World Wrestling Grand Prix champion Chris Steeler, one of Jay's favorite wrestlers, is going to be there. The Old School Empire, the Dog Tag Team Champions, are going to be there. There's Marvelous, excellent cruiserweight and junior heavyweight wrestler is going to be there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ty Thomas is supposed to be there. And a lot of great wrestlers are supposed to be there, plus Dave Dahl.
You said Dave Dahl, and I was like, what? Oh, yeah, Dave.
Yeah. Somebody bring him a mask. And maybe a ball gag, too. He should have been the original Gags of Gimp, because maybe somebody will gag him and we don't have to see him anymore.
Luthez wants to remind you that everything is legal unless you get caught. And then Paladin wants to talk about Lufisto. Do you guys, we can't do it now. We're running out of time, but do you guys have any Lufisto stories?
I have I've been a couple events with her. I know she worked for Valkyrie, and a couple events I've been on or around or helped out with. She's been there. She's always been really nice to me. I have really not much to say other than she's always been really nice, and she had some good matches.
You're ruining next week's show. Stop giving it away.
There's not really much to give away.
All right, well, that's fair. But like I said, we're going to end it for tonight just because I got to get going. And I do appreciate you guys being here. Of course, this is the podcast of record. Wait. Said Dustin was a racist and Sky Blue was a bland person. No, I never
Apparently, Dustin hates French Canadians, but then again, if you know somebody who likes French Canadians,
wasn't there a feud with Booker T and Goldust and La Resistance? I mean, I think that's probably what's going on here.
If anybody ever met Jacques Rougeau, they understand why people don't like French Canadians. There's two of you, Jacob?
Yeah, well, see, what I'm trying to do here is, again, I'm not in the normal studio, so I'm trying to do things and I can't do them the way that I want to. So, yeah. What I'm trying to do is end the show, actually. So, I do want to.
It doesn't seem like it.
I'm trying to, but I'm stalling because I'm trying to get to the area where I can push the button to end the show. But again, guys, thanks so much for being here on this Thursday night. It's been a blast. Some of this show you'll hear on the podcast later this week, probably tomorrow and Saturday, Sunday. But that's going to do it for us. If you had a good time, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the podcast or live stream or whatever we're calling this now. If you haven't done so already, we have merch available. It's in the web description of the show. So yeah, we'll be back on Tuesday with the pre-party. We have the other guys talking wrestling on Wednesday. They're going to be talking NLW, United Wrestling Network, and of course the NWA, and then we'll be talking some sort of NWA next week. I'm trying to have feelers out for some interviews, so maybe we'll have that. DK,
we talk about whether Jeff Jarrett should have held the title 6 times when he ran a promotion.
That's the subject we're talking about next week. Good job. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Have a good night. Stay friendly, and next time we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance. Here, I'm trying to close the show out. I don't know why it's not closing out. Bye, guys.
Bye.